What's up, Lex? How you doing?
Hi, Carlie. Hi, listeners. It's the end of 2018 as we know it.
We made it.
Did it seem fast or slow to you?
Both.
Yeah, it's always weird like that at the end of the year because I feel like this last week has felt like a month, but the year itself is like, dang, that was fast.
But then when you look, we're in it, it was a long time.
Yeah, and at the same time, when you think back on it, I'm like, what did I do? Which is kind of scary, actually, because it's like, so nothing was popping enough that I remember. Like, did I do anything significant? Or when you start thinking of stuff, you're like, oh, shoot, no, that was last year.
Yeah. Or
you're like, oh.
Or something like Black Panther actually came out this year. I'm like, that feels like 3 years ago.
Definitely a clean 8 years ago. But time is time. And
time is a construct. It ain't real. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that on another episode.
Thank you. What is it?
Bandersnatch.
Bandersnatch. Thank you. Time. There are multiple timelines going at the same time, guys. Watch that on Netflix. Carlie and I watched it yesterday. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was interesting.
That hour and a half turned into like, I don't know what time it was, but it was mad late by the time it was finished.
But I do want to throw out a question to the listeners. Have y'all ever read a Choose Your Own Destiny book?
It's first of all, it's Choose Your Own Adventure.
Whatever, bro.
And yes, they have. Like literally, I need y'all to... wherever Carlie is online, be like, yes, we've read these books. Because she's the only one who didn't go to a public library as a child.
Okay. Whoa. Well, first of all, I did go to the library. I was reading other books and classics.
Seen
I was reading other classics.
The whole shelf of Choose Your Own Adventures. You missed out.
I've talked to other people and they said no also. So I wonder if it's like a thing. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe,
but y'all holler at me. Let me know if you've read it. Would it Choose Your Own Adventure?
Yeah, I love those though.
No,
but that's
cool.
kind of, I guess, how we're ending the year because we watched some Netflix yesterday. We're about to talk about the year in general, how it's the ups and downs, and just kind of how we prepare for the next year. So,
yeah.
I guess first thing is thinking about accomplishments this year.
Man, it's so important to celebrate any growth, any accomplishments, any achievements. Like, it doesn't have to be, oh, I graduated from school, which it can be, and that's amazing. But so often we look at our big milestones as being so important and these things we're working to that we don't celebrate the little milestones, like the every single day things that are amazing. And so I want to just challenge you guys to think about, things that you can celebrate this year. Like, one thing we can celebrate is we started a podcast.
Yeah, that was actually one of the first things I thought about because it's something that I'd been saying I wanted to do, not necessarily a podcast, but, like something that I wanted to do regularly as far as content. And so when I think back on this year, that was definitely one of the ones that I was excited about, that we started it. We stayed consistent.
Yeah, consistency,
you guys
bro.
holding us down for 16 episodes.
Y'all the real MVPs.
For real.
But we're consistent. I was like, man, this is our 16th episode. And it's kind of like the year. It's like, man, that's our 16th episode already. But dang, it's our 16th episode.
Right. It's just our 16th episode. But that's 4 months, kind of, if we're talking about 4 weeks.
Y'all been holding us down. We appreciate you. But so that's one of the big accomplishments, I think, for 2018 that I'm super stoked about, super excited, very grateful. Looking forward to 2019. But what are some of your other things you want to celebrate, Lex?
You want to ask me before I asked you? Right. Wow, I was waiting for you. I was trying to be nice and let you finish speaking.
I knew. That's why I was dragging it out.
Okay, so for me, one of them is that I moved. So I moved out the hood, down the street.
Now she don't know how to act.
Nah, but I was a couple miles away from where I am now. And when we moved there, it was a great spot though. Like to move there, especially as a first move to LA, because you really never know like what's going on here.
The housing market.
And it's so expensive and all that. So it was great. But our surroundings are much nicer now. I have more walkability. Things are closer. So I really like
your walk
it.
score is like 110 out of 100.
Have more space here. So I really like my new spot and finally moved. We've been going like month to month since like February because that was our year over. But then it's like, we don't want to pay for another year. But then it was like, dang, it's been like 7-8 months. We still couldn't find a place. Then we finally found one. And it took a lot of like 007 work to get this spot, which is a whole nother story. But definitely snuck up in here and like peeped out the apartment while people were like still in here working on it, painting. We like walked all up in here, took pictures, and it was like, we want this spot before they even put it up because that's how you have to find an apartment in Los Angeles. But we got it, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, no, that's a blessing.
Next year, I'm working on getting my balcony more together with a lot more plants.
Turn up.
Because I'm out there literally every day. Like, I go out there to read, eat every meal, basically. So I'm going to get it nice.
Yeah, and the natural light over here is popping.
Mm-hmm. Carlie's selfie master over here.
Just trying to get like Lex, y'all. Lex got the juice. Just trying to get a little bit.
I don't be posting no selfies. I need to turn up, but I just be like, all right.
She'll be turning up on y'all. But she will in 2019. Be looking
Maybe.
out.
What's something that you accomplished this year?
I feel like 2018 for me was more internal. And so not things that you would see, like 2017, like I graduated from B school. So that was like a big external accomplishment. Paid off my car, praise God. That's a big external accomplishment. But 2018, aside from the podcast, and I think like, so I'll say my health, that's something like in business school, I gained, some weight back and was stressed out and all those things. So working on taking care of myself and being in the best space that I can be mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And I feel like that's really what 2018 has been for me. Just like creating this environment within myself and around myself to where I can flourish. And like I said, you don't really see that in Instagram pictures or Facebook, but boy, that's, ooh.
Yeah, I like that because one of the things I wrote down is an internal thing. And then there's always going to be a million internal things. But one big one that I put was a big accomplishment for me this year was being comfortable being single. Like, I really turned up with hanging out with like my friends a lot more, focusing on my business and focusing a lot more on myself, period. Yeah. And like, I really enjoyed it. I wasn't really like down in the dumps for no like super duper long time. Like, it's a quicker process of just like processing it, I guess, to be like, all right, it's just me. So I've actually like really enjoyed it. And I think or maybe the accomplishment is more so that I'm proud of how I spent my time.
Yes.
Or like how I learned to use my time differently and more productively as a single person.
I like that a lot. Yeah, go you. That's good.
Not go you.
No, that makes me excited. Like, I love hearing things like that, like people just being comfortable and confident in themselves and figuring out like what that looks like. It's like creating a life that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside, or even better on the inside.
And I feel like I never actually had issue with I've never been one of those people like I feel like I need to be in a relationship, but after you have been like for a little while, then it's a big change. Like, all right, so what, like what's going on now? So kind of just reestablishing stuff that we've talked about before in other episodes, like reestablishing like what's important to you, what you need to be focused on, etc. So
yeah,
did a lot of that.
I feel like me being in this space also allowed me to be able to hold space for other people. And also we talked about like connecting. So because I was in a much healthier space in all these aspects of my life, I was able to connect friends with businesses because I had the space. Like, I created the space within myself to allow me to help other people instead of being so focused on all the nonsense and everything going on. I don't even know if any of that made sense, but
that's part of my, when we talk about lessons we learned this year, that's kind of part of mine too. So I get that. What's this other accomplishment that you have down?
The learning.
She just wrote down learning with the exclamation mark.
Actually, I wrote learning everything.
Like, let's calm down.
Everything. No, you don't know I'd be excited. Like, my default is excited. Learning, just everything. Like, I read so many books. I watched so many videos. I went to like Tony Robbins this year, like his thing. I did a dynamic mindfulness training. I forgot about that. That is something I'm proud of. I got certified as a dynamic
cool.
mindfulness instructor. See, stuff be happening, you just be forgetting. But I'm excited about that. But also learning just communication and relationships, how to speak my truth, and just being open to it. I became a better teacher, like a better yoga teacher, a better personal trainer, a better like holistic health and wellness coach.
Ooh.
And so just learning. I just love learning. So like literally everything.
That's interesting that you say that because I had a pretty cool conversation with one of my clients this week during one of our consulting sessions. She's writing a book, and she kind of talked about how she's like, well, really the theme, like it's a lot about, a lot of deep issues, but she's like, really the theme kind of is that the way to kind of come out of a lot of self-esteem or, your own internal issues is to be a lifelong learner and to focus on always trying to like learn new things. And I feel like some people don't really have that natural curiosity. We definitely do. To our listeners, you guys probably do. But like, I'm one of those people, if as soon as I see a word I don't know, or if I'm even thinking about something, like I got to Google it. Yeah. So I'm always learning something. I Google weird stuff like, well, how do I know if I should have more space with it. Like I'll Google a whole sentence, like whatever I'm thinking. And then I always find like really cool articles and stuff.
Yeah.
So that is, I think really a key, like work on a language, work on getting better at this or that. The more you learn things, the more you get better at things, you just feel really good about yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that is important.
And then I'm looking at an app that I found after our app episode is called Elevate, and you practice like writing, speaking, and math skills. And it's just like a little, it's free, and you do like 3 little exercises a day, and just to keep you sharp and like quick.
That's cool, actually.
And I just like learning, like you talk about languages. My Duolingo app be hidden. Me and Lex were I was just telling her that I need to practice like my Spanish. I used to be fluent, and I'm less than that now. And so just finding ways to continue being the best version of myself.
That'd be one of those things when we do our like Toledo or Madrid trip or something and do our podcast from there. Yes. Like all we need is probably a week there, and we'll be like, all right, back to the grind. Yeah, back to knowing what we was talking about. The last thing I have for an accomplishment that was significant for me this year, because I tried to I didn't want to just be like work stuff, because when I do that, it reminds me that I don't want to like place my esteem in my work or whatever the
your
right
value.
Yeah, like I always catch myself like, dang, it's really always about work stuff. But one thing with work though that was a significant accomplishment for me was expanding my services more so to do more creative studio work. So part of that is like working with the team. Shout out Preston, Brianna, pulling in like Damo, pulling in my friends to go in with clients and develop like videos and trailers and more.
Just so cool.
Yeah, like cooler type of content that's really elevated my clients and their content to a different level too. So that's been really fun. Just in our proposal yesterday, trying to do a documentary in Jamaica. So like a lot of cool stuff. Basically, I'm always trying to like do the most in a whole different field. So it's like, maybe I just want to be a director now. So we'll see what happens.
Director Lex.
Yeah, but I enjoy that. I mean, everything's about content now. So expanding into that space and having the resources and the cool people around who know and are knowledgeable in how to do these things has been pretty cool for me.
Yeah, no, that's super awesome. And so I think it's just super important to take a moment and like reflect back on all the small and large things you're really excited about or really proud of. Like I saw somebody post that they wanted to read 12 books, like 1 book per month in 2018, and they did it. So shout out to one of my neos, like for killing it. Like I said, I read a lot more this year, but also I think it's important to look back at like lessons that we learned this year and just, continuing that growth. So maybe not concrete accomplishments, but just lessons. Yeah.
Maybe like an opportunity that you found or something that you learned out of like a hard time or difficult time. I think it was just yesterday. I was talking to myself. Wow, that sounds crazy. I could have just at least said I was talking to somebody.
Nah.
I was talking to myself,
I talk to myself a lot.
Yeah, that's what ends up turning into my tweets most of the time. But I was talking, I think I was probably drafting. My drafts are like notes to self.
Dog, your ovulation.
Oh, man, tweets. I was going ham. Wow, you going to put that in the podcast?
I am. It was hilarious. No, because you're not the only person.
I was on my phone going ham, and I was like, Lex, you should not do that.
It's the egg tweeting. No, I had to look at my app the other day, like, what is wrong? Oh.
Boy, my ovaries be tweeting like a mug. But then I get back to being disgusted by everything and everybody afterwards. I'm like, this is temporary.
I better enjoy that golden window.
Man, I was getting some Tinder swipes going ham, and I was like, all right, I'm done. X out the app. But back to the actual lessons learned in 2018, which is not that my ovaries tweet.
Although they do.
Yeah, they do. Man, especially as you get older. Whew, child. But what were we talking about? Lessons learned. Oh, so I was talking to myself yesterday. Not to my eggs. I was talking to myself. And I was thinking about how, like, man, like, I feel like I'm really the king of the pivot. And I feel like I'm really the king of finding a seed of opportunity in everything. Like, honestly, bad things happen to me are like, and I was thinking about how this year, to me, I feel like this really was more of a valley year, to be honest. Like, I feel like it wasn't a year of like, wow, yes, like, win. Like, I feel like it was really a lot of like figuring stuff out, like, being not secluded, but like fall back and like, all right, let's rethink through some things, stuff like that. I feel like it was a lot of that this year. But at the same time, I feel like this is one of the most peaceful mentally years, because when stuff happens, I'm just like, okay, like very quickly, like, where's the win in this? Like if I lose a client, it's like, all right, now I can do this thing or focus on this thing, or if something happens, I can always find like where else can I pivot to make something happen? So this year, as far as the lessons I learned, one of them was creating space. And by creating space, I mean not over planning. So we've talked before about how we do different methods. Like I've had a vision board, and then I had a year where I wrote down my goals every day, but I never do it for too long. And it's not because it's just like I didn't want to stick to it. It's just I always like just trying new things to like keep my brain fresh and to figure out like what really works best for me. But one thing I started doing more of is like, all right, having a time where it's like nothing is planned, so that I can just not even just to say I'm not going to do anything, but just to give myself space to let thoughts happen. I feel like I get a lot of my best ideas or interesting concepts or whatever it is when it's like I'm not trying to do work, or I'm not trying to say, I'm going to do this or hang out with these people or do whatever. Just say, all right, Saturday, like I'm not doing anything. And then lots of cool stuff just kind of comes to me when I create the space to just like let things happen.
No, and that's beautiful. And just think if you never took the time to stop to do that, like if you were just constantly like on this wheel, which is not bad to be doing things, but if you never take the time just to be by yourself or to let your mind be free of obligations and things, like you wouldn't have that space for creating.
Yeah, I think when you're still, that's when you get the space of things just kind of coming to you.
I was thinking about that. One of my lessons this year was learning to receive.
That's a good one.
And because I'm a great giver, I'm not good at receiving. It's so much easier, like even compliments. And people be like, oh, this, instead of being like, yeah, I'm just trying to be like you, fam.
Or being like, oh, well, looks nice too.
Yeah, which is great. That's nice, but also just saying thank you and learning to be present. But on that, like creating space, like if I'm receiving, if I want abundance, I have to make space in my life to receive it. And so that's kind of two of my lessons in one. So it's like learning to receive, but also being able to let go so that I have the space to receive.
Because it doesn't make sense to pray for or to want things that you're not ready to receive, which means everything's about working on you or you being in the right place.
Exactly. Like I don't ever want an opportunity or a gift or abundance if I'm not ready for it, right? And so in order to do that, you have to let go of certain things. You have to clear the space and clear the air and have your mind and everything in alignment for it. And so that I feel like that's really what this year was for me.
That's good. One of the things I was kind of proud about too was taking more action, like towards the middle / towards the end of the year. So like even with us starting the podcast, with me finally doing my freaking website and different things like that, because I really dropped the ball so much this year as far as procrastination and planning with air quotes things, and it just taking forever when it didn't need to. So I had a lot of situations this year where I would like, oh yeah, I could do that later. I could put this off. And then it's like, shoot, I had so many stressful, like, oh, I need this right now. Now I need a bunch of things right now. And I kept letting that happen. And I remember at the end of last year saying that that's something I'll work on this year as far as, taking more action, executing more instead of worrying about the planning or the ideas, working on finishing. And so I do feel like I caught myself a lot more and that I started to do a lot better with that. But that's still something I'm always probably going to be working on just because I don't know. I just like being a lazy, like chill person sometimes. So it's easy for me to just think about stuff and then wait till the last second to do it. So still working on that, but definitely learned how good it feels when you actually do get stuff done, like when you're supposed to.
Man, I feel like that was a big thing for me this year too, like putting things off and then it gets, so like not responding to an email or something, and then you're like,
and then it gets awkward.
And then it gets hella awkward. And then at some point you got to bite the bullet and respond to the email. And so I actually have a couple ones that I'm going to respond to before the end of the year. But also just trying to get down to why I do that.
Yeah.
And then figuring out like, well, what's the root of me not wanting to respond and struggling through whatever that thing is. So doing that. Yeah, that's something I'm definitely still working on. I'm a work in progress, y'all.
What else you got?
My last thing, well, I have a lot of lessons, but the ones I narrowed down to are is protecting my space. So I work really hard at creating this space for myself, like cultivating like the people in my life, being very intentional about everything in my life. And that involves like protecting it. And what I mean when I say that is like letting go of any furthering of letting go of any people, places, things, habits, like anything that doesn't fit that or that like stresses me out.
That doesn't fit what exactly?
The life that I'm creating for myself, like the goals, like if it's not in alignment, like if it's not in alignment with my purpose and with what I feel like I'm working on, then I gotta let it go. For example, like if I was obsessed with milkshakes, but I'm trying to get abs, it's probably not the same thing, but on a very baseline level. But that involved like letting go of people and letting go of things and loving people from afar. And yeah, lots of snip this year.
Okay, that's real. Did I already do 3? I'm gonna do one more. So the other one other lesson I learned this year was identifying. Actually, I kind of identified towards the end of last year, but like I really like noticed it all the time this year. But identifying how often I'm living in my own head and not living life. Like so many times. Like I'm always having conversations with yourself. Dag, and that's what I talked about at the beginning of this. You see how that came back around?
So fast.
Dang. But by living in your head, I mean that I spend a lot of time in my own thoughts trying to make myself feel comfortable about all the things going on around me. So when I see things or have a discussion with somebody, talk to somebody in my head, you're having all that extra dialogue. A lot of us always have this extra dialogue. But to the point where you realize, like, oh, I just walked from here to the metro. I didn't see anything. I didn't notice anybody.
Yep.
I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, I was
not
drinking my milkshake
all
on the way to the metro, and I didn't taste anything. Like, because I'm in my head and not looking at people around me. So things I started trying to do now, like when I'm out and about, I try to catch everybody's eyes as I walking by them. I kind of do that anyway, just because I like seeing who's going to look away first, which isn't me. But I try to give everybody like 3 seconds, unless, there's weirdos out here too, so they don't get it. But, I try to give everybody three seconds of like eye lock time, or I try to smile. That's so hard. But, and I try to just snap out of it. Like when I notice I'm just doing so much thinking, thinking, like look around me and like see what's going on actually around me, or actually communicating with another person or something like that. But that's something I learned to identify. And so I'm kind of still working on that. So now when I identify, it's just like a process it and do something different.
Yeah, no, I like that though. And that's very important. Like I remember whenever I used to live in Dallas and I was working at the airport, like doing engineering stuff, I wouldn't even remember my drive. And that's crazy. Like, because you're literally operating this vehicle going pretty damn fast, especially in Dallas. And I wouldn't even remember. And so I would make it a point to try to see something new every time. And so I think that that's a good...
Or recognizing like when things like trigger your thoughts instead of like nothing else triggered you. Like you're doing all this driving, like the trees are fine. You're not thinking about anything extra, but then you see something and it makes you think about, a person or a problem or whatever. And now you start going into like la la land in your brain. So like trying not to do that either. Like just letting everything you experience, just like you notice it and let it go through. So that's what I've been working on.
So now we're moving into the new year.
Yep, 2019.
So
marking a decade on Twitter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
If we had applause, I would play it right now.
10 years.
10 years on Twitter.
Been out here.
Topia.
Always been the same name.
Really?
Yep. 10 years, same name.
Yeah, no, mine was not always Carlie Carpia, but that's okay.
We know yours was on some extra stuff.
CC the Great.
Oh,
that's what it was first because I'm an 8. Anyways, but New Year's is interesting because it signifies like a beginning and an end of like a big physical change. So New Year's is always a time when people want to make changes and do all these things in their lives. But is New Year's important to you? Like, is it significant? Like, is it a significant point in your life?
For me specifically, there's 2 ways to answer that because I can't deny that, yes, there is a lot more creative energy and more thoughtful energy right now that I do feel towards the end of the year. I don't know if that's from the like psychological thinking about a new year and also just everybody else around you kind of talking about things like that right now, right?
Yeah.
And even like with work and with my clients, people are thinking about, well, what's my plan for next year? Or they're thinking about ways they want to expand or do things differently. So I feel like right now, by default, a lot of people are thinking about what things they want to implement and do differently or do in the next year. So yes, it's kind of significant in that, like, that is there. I do feel like planning more. I do feel like, taking an inward look and focusing on like biz dev and internal things. But technically it's not different. Like, we know it's not different. And even, on the flip side of what I just said, like, even for me, it was something I told myself, like, man, I want to start doing this. And I literally just started doing it the next day. Like, I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to pull I'll wait till the first or wait till any time. Like, as soon as I think about something, there's no point in continuing to go and saying that I'll do it again. Like, I'm going to straight up either backtrack to do what I said I was going to do or start doing that thing right now. So I have started doing that. So as I do have this energy around, I'm putting it in motion, like, right now.
Yeah, no, I like that. I feel like mine's the same. Like, I try to do things every single day and learn and get better every day. So it's not significant on that. I do.
That's good. No, I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
No, I know. I'm just like, it's like.
But when people say like, oh, I get better every week or every month. And I'm like, not really.
But that's interesting because I think that's contradictory to what you just said. Like, whenever you think of something, you just go forward with it.
But I'm not like a different person necessarily than I was last week.
And I don't think I'm a different person. I think I'm just a better version of myself.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Because in the same vein, I can also very much like backtrack. You know what I mean? Like, it's always a movement, but looking at the big picture, I think,
it goes exactly. I would say
definitely moving
mine
up.
is definitely not a straight line. Let's be clear.
Up. Yeah.
I definitely have moments. But it's not different. Me and my best friend always talk about how, me and my best friend Felicia always talk about how this new year does not feel like a new year. Like, but Lunar New Year, like, which is in February, like the Chinese New Year, always feels more like a beginning.
A new year to you?
Yeah, and I don't understand. It just always feels like that. Just like I can't believe my birthday and Christmas were like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. It feels like a whole different year. It just doesn't technically feel like it, but it's still something that I get ready for. And this signifies what is happening.
Sorry, guys. I tried to take a sip of water and like my hand had a seizure. I spilled it all over. I'm sorry, Carlie.
It's good.
Please continue your deep moment while I dry off.
No, it's good. And I was just saying, like, even though it doesn't necessarily feel like it, I still always, try to plan for it. I don't do resolutions, though. Like, that's not.
You don't set resolutions?
Because resolutions in my head, just the connotation of the word, like, they never work. Like, I forget what the percentage is, but I want to say like 80-something% of resolutions people don't follow through with. And that's
including
probably
you?
Being generous. No. But I don't call mine resolutions.
Yeah, I was going to say, so what's the difference between resolutions and goals?
I don't have a negative connotation with the word goals. I do have one with resolutions, though. It's just wordy.
So you set them, you have things that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You just don't call them resolutions.
Yeah.
Is what we're saying. Okay.
Yeah, because
or you don't like sit down like for the first.
Yeah, and I don't also just don't plan it for that. Like my goals do have timelines, but they're not like, oh, in this. I do say like within this next year I would like to do this because I think it's very important to be clear about what you want to accomplish so you can say it and speak it into existence and put that energy towards it. But it's not just based on like 2019.
But those are resolutions. They can be.
I'm
not trying to like be funny, but
I'm gonna have to Google the definition of resolution.
Yeah, I think we just don't want to put ourselves in the same pile as the people who we know aren't really doing what, like, they just want to say it to feel good and they're not going to do it. But I guess we kind of make resolutions. I feel like I want to make some, and by that maybe I should say like goals for the year. I would like to reevaluate the goals that I've had and think about, all right, based on some of the things that have happened, what can I like scale back to say, this is what I want to focus on this year, or like these are the things specifically maybe I want to be able to check off this year. I kind of would want to think about doing that.
So a resolution. Why not?
Because when I actually sit down and think about specific things, they don't really come to me like that. So it's different. So like if you're sitting down, what you're saying is if you're sitting down intentionally like, hey, I'm going to write down these resolutions, they don't come to you. But if you're like living life and things do come to you, you just do then
them.
It makes sense where I'm thinking about something like, oh yeah, I want to get that, or I want to be a speaker here or there, or do this or that or whatever. But I might not sit down. If I sit down and think about it, I'm just going to be putting things that I think sound good, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
to
no,
myself.
that definitely makes sense. So a resolution is technically a firm decision to do or not to do something. Whereas
So
a
making a
goal
choice.
is the object of a person's ambition or effort, their aim or desired result.
So really, people are making goals, New Year's goals anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Resolutions are really a stronger word that maybe we should change our connotation
Exactly.
to, so that to ourselves we're saying this is a resolution
like
to
a
make it
firm
more
decision.
serious.
Yeah. Intention, resolve. Yeah. It actually is more firm. That's very interesting.
And I mean, that's something we could within ourselves say, okay, like I do have a resolution to get XYZ done or to do something.
Yeah.
Even if you don't frame it as New Year's resolutions the way maybe other people think of them. That's interesting.
It is. I think, and I've never actually looked up the definition of that word. And so now I'm like, okay, maybe I don't have such a negative connotation.
When you think about it that way. I mean, it's all about how you view things, honestly. Do you do anything special, though, or to get ready for the new year?
I usually do like a little like ritual of like writing down a lot of what we're doing in this episode, writing down what I'm grateful for, writing down what I've learned. I also write down things that I want to let go of, and then I burn them and like let that go and just cleanse the energy of my house.
I did that a couple weeks
space.
ago with my friend at her holiday brunch. That was pretty cool. That's why I kind of remember some of the things that I knew I wanted to work on too. I think I do want to try. Today is New Year's Eve that this episode comes out.
It is.
So I think I do want to try before hanging out with friends or whatever I end up doing. Maybe having like a whole self-care day or something just to like, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Or maybe if, I said I was trying to plan less, but maybe if it's like a mix of like meditating, writing out things, but also maybe a little brainstorming for work or something. I don't know. I'll think about it.
I like that a lot. And it's also working on, maybe that's the thing that I'll do also, is filling up my cup before I go and celebrate with other people, like before I pour out. Like, and I also want to make that a thing for the new year. So I guess that's a resolution. I am making a firm decision to make sure that I am choosing myself because that allows me to show up better in the world, not only for myself, but for other people too.
And this is a little more random, but have you ever, I know Deepak talks about it sometimes. Have you ever had like a whole day of silence where you tried, or a period of time where you specifically tried to just be like silence? And that includes not speaking to other people, but also not interacting, like not being on your email, not reading, not emailing or anything like that. Have you ever done that?
Yes, but not necessarily for those purposes. So being a teacher, my voice sometimes goes out because I talk a lot, and now I have a podcast, so I talk even more. And so for like 2 days, like this year, God, that was this year. I like didn't talk to anybody, but I guess sometimes I text them. So I want to do that. There is actually a retreat. It's called Vipassana, and it's a 10-day silent meditation. You basically where you 10 whole days. And I actually have friends who've done it. Y'all are wild. But I love it.
Crazy at first.
Right? Exactly. But you literally have 10 days where you do not talk. You're not on your phone. You're meditating most of the day. When you eat in silence. There are other people there, but you don't eat. But yeah, apparently it brings up a lot of creativity and helps you clear all the noise out of your head, because when you start removing what people are telling you and showing you and what you see on Instagram and the stories that you see on social media, like it allows you to just be you. It's kind of what you were talking about, having that space for yourself, but in a very like pure way.
Yeah, when he was like not even reading or anything, because he's like, that's having a conversation with the author. So I was like, dang, I want to read. But maybe
That's interesting.
I would maybe try that for like an hour. And it's not necessarily that you're meditating, like you don't have to be, sitting down really, but well, I don't know, maybe you are, because what else are you doing? Cleaning?
I do that in the morning. I mean, I guess like I have an intentional like 30 minutes where I'm not on my phone. I'm not talking.
You're meditating though, right?
I meditate for like 10 of those minutes.
Okay.
And then just kind of.
So I'd want to see if I could ever do like a day of like silence, of nothing, like nothing, just, which means doesn't mean I'm not doing anything, but just not communicating, I guess. That was random, but
maybe that's something you
thinking
want to
about like
in the
reset
new year.
type things.
Yeah.
I think it's important for me because time runs into each other with the kind of life I have, where it's like every day is kind of not so much different, but like I'm working at some point a little bit every day, and things are kind of fluid like that, to where I'm like, I don't know what day it is, I don't know what time it is, but if I have some times where it's just like a reset or time to chill, putting more time to chill. That's not just like a watching Netflix or whatever. But I want to figure that out maybe.
Yeah, I'd be interested. We'll check back in on that at a later date. So, moving into celebrating what you're doing as listeners, we want to know, like, what are some awesome things or small and large things that you're excited about that you did this year that you either set your mind to or that happened fortuitously. Like, please, like, screenshot, share with us so we can celebrate with you. It's so important to celebrate everything. Like, it is worthy, even if it's something internal that nobody else can see.
Yeah, my girl Michelle Hucks on Instagram, she did something that I thought was cool yesterday or a few weeks ago now from hearing this. But on her story, she did like a 2018 recap, and she just put up like funny stories and like little videos that she put up maybe in stories or that was in her camera roll. And a lot of it was interesting. A lot of it was people she hung out with. That was like cool moments.
Yeah.
One she put up of us when we like went to happy hour, but then we stole the actual drinks out of the place and we were in the Uber drinking. And so she put that on there. So I had to be the life of crime, like memory, but,
Sounds about right.
But it's interesting when you think back on the year and it really is like, shoot, is that a good thing? If you're like, I don't really remember. Like if you have to look back through your stuff to really remind yourself.
I don't think it's good or bad.
And we both talked about how before, for me, it was last year, how we've done jars, which I thought was really interesting. And it was a good reminder at the end of the year because I'd put in little stuff. Like it didn't always have to be something really huge. But anytime I did something that I was proud of or something that I accomplished, I would write it down and put it in this jar. And at the end of the year, I read all the things. And it really did jog my memory. Like, oh, shoot, I forgot about that. But I think that's good because so many times we focus on what we're trying to get to that we don't take time to celebrate what we're doing and the fact that we actually did cross a lot of things off of our list while we're actually like living through the year.
And it's so important to celebrate those little moments because whenever you do get those big accomplishments, like graduating, you did it, and maybe that whole weekend your family's there or your friends or whatever, but then what? Like then you have all these other little goals. Like I feel like there are a lot more days and a lot more time with the small accomplishments and the small steps you're taking towards your goals than there are actually on the peaks of accomplishing those goals. You don't want to live a life where you just celebrate the big stuff.
Yep.
So that is our shout out this week. We want to shout you out. So please share with us, take screenshots, let us know what you're celebrating so we can, applause and with you.
And then our question of the week
Dun, 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 dun.
for Carlie and for y'all too
Question
is what is one thing that you are working on in the new year?
Lex, what is one thing that you are working on
flip it on
in
me.
the new year? Try.
For me, so one thing that I'm going to focus on next year that I started really getting into the very end of this year, so I think I still have a lot of space to work on it and improve with it and do more of it, is picking up the phone more. And I'm actually about to write a blog post about this, or I want to. Picking up the phone more to have more conversations with folks, collaborate with folks, understand what they're actually working on for real. Because in the last few weeks, I've had so many like discovery calls, I guess I'd call them, which I hated before because I'm like, what's the point of like just talking to people just to talk? But I found so many like-minded ideas, synergy for projects. I've started having more of my friends being more open about things they want to do, so it's like working with them on stuff. So a lot more collaboration. And with that comes working on how do I balance all of these things. I had a guy who asked me to be on the board of like an organization a few weeks ago, and it's like, man, all these things sound cool, but then it's like, I don't know, I already feel like I'm doing too much with what seems like small things. So it's really about how do I focus on the big things and let those things be enough to fulfill. So it's not like I have to like scrap around a lot.
I like the way you worded that. No, that's real. That's good. That's a good thing. One business thing, it's interesting because we didn't talk about this, but mine is in alignment in the sense of I know so many amazing people that want to do so many amazing things, but part of it is getting them in the same room with each other. And so I want to I want to help create a space where we can bring them together and allow people to, just flow like organically and meet and actually do things and not just like a mixer, but being more intentional, like a mastermind or like a workshop or things like that. So creating those spaces. And then for myself, something personal I'm working on is follow through. So making sure that I'm taking those actions and just following through with everything that I'm talking about.
Cool. Always important. You got to
So
execute.
what is one thing that you're working on this year? Let us know.
Yep. And enjoy your New Year's Eve. Have a great New Year's.
Be safe.
And don't forget about us in 2019 because we coming hard.
Coming hard with the Bouch. We got some
Coming with that
amazing
heat.
things coming for y'all in 2019.
Yep. Exciting. So
Happy New
happy
Year,
New
y'all.
Year. Bye, guys.